I didn't like it. I mean, let's just. I mean, there's so much to unpack here. You talked about leading into the conversation, the extension, Oettinger. So this is your guy. This is your number one guy. The organization is committed term and huge money to him. And, you know, in his defense, Oettinger has been a number one goaltender in the league, like a top tier guy, not, you know, a second tier guy. He's shown that he can be a one. So he's not wrong, the sample size, all of that. But what I would have liked to seen is no problem. You want to pull him to try and jar the momentum? No problem. Pull him and yell at the team, just like he's doing right now, if you're watching it on TSN2, but put him back in. Pull him for 2 shifts. Say, Jake, come out. You're embarrassing this guy. And then you go to Jake. You're embarrassing yourself. Get back in there and slam the door shut. Because what pisses me off about it is he yelled at everybody on that team, but they got an opportunity to respond. They got an opportunity to skate harder, to try and get back into the game. He sat there with a ball cap right beside Ray Ferraro.
Yeah.
So there was nothing he could do. There was nothing, like no going, okay, I'll show you, coach. Give me. He never got that opportunity. And to me, a quick pull. Listen, I played for Mike Keenan. I worked with him. I was on his coaching staff, so I know the psyche around the goalie pull. Sometimes it's not the goalie's fault. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's a combination of both, like we saw last night. But if you're going to pull him that quick, put him back in, because it's Casey DeSmith.
Exactly. Another thing I took issue with is, I mean, like it was a tap-in for Corey Perry on the power play, and then the second was a horrible line change for Dallas that let Janmark just walk in alone. Right. He didn't allow a couple of Joe Nieuwendyk on Patrick Lalime goals here. No. Sorry, Patrick Lalime. You always catch shrapnel anytime I'm on the radio. Well, but I just didn't understand the logic there. And I listen, if you want to pull him for the sake of, all right, it's going to spark our team, gives him a little reset, that's fine. But then he went back and was talking about how, the history, this and that. I mean, those 2 goals aren't on Jake Oettinger. I mean, it's on your team in front of Jake Oettinger.
Well, I just thought it was a bizarre way to end your season.
Yeah.
Because this, to me, forget about recapping what just happened. Now DeBoer is doing damage about what could happen next year, right? Like planting this seed that somehow Jake Oettinger lost 6 of the last 7 games to Edmonton. No, he didn't lose. The Dallas Stars lost, okay?
Yeah.
He actually had the math wrong. They've lost. Jake Oettinger's been in the net for 7 of 8 losses in their most recent meetings against the Oilers. But guess what? In those 7 losses, the Dallas Stars have scored a combined 9 goals. So, it's, big sample size, but a very small amount of run support from his teammates. So I don't know how you hang that one on the goalie, Noodles. And I'm not a goalie hugger by any measure, but this was bizarre to me.
I like I said, I understand the start of it. I just dislike the end of it. And okay, even if you feel like you screwed up with the pull and you didn't put him back in and whatever, you don't need to double down in your media after. Like, that's the thing. Like I would have been fine just saying, you know what? Yeah, I didn't feel like he had it tonight. Our team obviously didn't have it, but we're going to reset this summer, and we're going to come back even better next year. He doubled down on it and goes, well, you see, we've got enough data here, 7 of 8 games, 6 of 7. I'm like, now what you're going to have to do, to your point, Dave, is damage control. He might have to fly out to where Oettinger lives in the offseason and have a beer with him and go, okay, like let's start over here, because they have to coexist. And because they just signed Oettinger to a long-term deal. He's not going anywhere. If anybody's going, it's DeBoer. It's not going to be Oettinger. So I understood the pull. I thought he should have gone back into the net. That was the difference for me.
Yeah, and then obviously what he said after the game raised a lot of eyebrows around the league, and I'm sure our next guest feels the same way. Joining us on the Maple Toyota Hotline, TSN Hockey analyst Mike Johnson. MJ, when you saw Pete DeBoer go on the podium last night and say what he said about his goaltender, what was your reaction?
Unnecessary. Like, why? Yes. Even if you believe that in your moment, even if you're frustrated and just, come on, we need a save, the season is over. There's no upside to doing it. They can only hurt you. And so I don't know why. I appreciate the honesty and the candor, but I just was like, why? I don't know what it is. And it's very true. between the two of them, it's Oettinger that will have the longer run in Dallas than Pete DeBoer. So maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he was just so frustrated at the loss that he just, lost his cool. But just to say exactly what Noodles just said, I wanted to switch it up. We were down early. He didn't look sharp. But we know he's a great goalie. He's always going to be, we believe him 100%, whatever, some throwaway nonsense. And then you move on. But to go big enough sample size, he ain't getting it done. Yeah. And then also, sort of not even telling him in the moment, AK. You have a timeout, and I understand you want to rally the troops and get them together, but you can let the guy know, hey, you're out as well. Tell Casey DeSmith to get ready. He didn't even do that. He waited for the Andre to head back to the net, be like, no, you get out of here. It was just, the whole thing was it was clumsy the way he handled the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great word for it. Now, I've been the guy where the coach yells down to the end of the bench. So I've been the guy coming off the bench, right? And I would always joke, there's times where a goalie give up 2 quick goals and then I'm sitting there on the bench painting myself invisible going, I don't want to go into this. I don't, so you're hiding behind a player. And I remember one time where I was backing up Hexie, Ron Hextall. I was with the Islanders and we were playing in St. Louis, but I was the backup. And the backup had to sit at the other side of the rink behind Curtis Joseph and literally in the Zamboni doors. And what happened is Hexie allowed 3 goals in whatever it was, 8 minutes, and then attacked Peter Nedved. So it all hell was breaking loose. And so I'm sitting there and I can see Al Arbor waving to me, get the hell in there. So the doors fly open. I skate by Cujo and Cujo goes, good luck, kid. So I'm telling firsthand, I've been the guy. So I would argue what happened is he calls the timeout. He looks at DeSmith and goes, you're going in. So DeSmith might have gone down to get his gear, but he didn't tell Jake until after he yelled at everybody. And so Oettinger had no idea he was pulled. So you're right. It was a clumsy move where he could have said, I think what he was doing is he probably told DeSmith, you're going in. DeSmith, he would have thought was on the ice already, heading into the net, but he wasn't. And so that's where confusion was. He's like, Jake, get back here. You're out. This guy's in. It was just clumsy. And then, like you said, MJ, no reason to double down after the game when everything's over. What positive could come out of that? Where do you go from here, MJ?
You're not going to light a fire. He's not going to train hard and come back with a chip on his shoulder. All he's going to do is get pissed off at his coach and think that his coach doesn't believe in him in the biggest moments, which may, in fact, be true. Where it goes from here is it's going to make the next 2 weeks to 2 months more uncomfortable than it had to be. Because now in exit interviews, what do you think that's going to be like between DeBoer and Jim Nill and Jake Oettinger, who was just finishing his first year of an 8-year contract?
Yeah.
That's going to be damage control. You talked about maybe needing to fly out to see Jake wherever he's at in the summer and go fly fishing with him and say, hey, you know what, sorry about it. We believe in you, whatever. That's where it's got to go because Jake Oettinger's not going anywhere. Jake Oettinger is going to be the goalie in net the next time Dallas plays an important playoff game. And Jake Oettinger, quite frankly, is going to have to play better in the playoffs than he's played the last few years. That is also true. So, there is some merit in, the facts are the facts. He didn't play great in these playoffs. That's not the only reason they lost. It's probably not even the number one reason they lost. But 2 things can be true. He hasn't been great. He just didn't have to say that out loud. So where does it go? Probably just clean up duty, and then, Andre will put it behind him and maybe just go back to work and keep playing. But the other part about this, and I've never thought about this, but I was reading about it the last few days, and I've always sort of subscribed to the idea that sometimes, even with the goalies, it's not necessarily his fault, Noodles, you pull him anyways to send a message to the team.
Yep.
And it's not about Noodles. It's about you idiots. You're the ones who are playing terrible. I'm not going to do that to our starter. You guys wake up. I'm protecting the goalie. I'm pulling it to wake up the team. And I always sort of thought, no, it makes sense. And that feels kind of like something that would be true. Except apparently the data suggests that it's not. The idea of a pull to get the team to play better is factually untrue. It doesn't have that kind of impact.